Hi everyone! In today's episode, we're going to review wine history and the geographic development of vitis vinifera throughout the world. I'm Nicolas Seltzer, and let's jump into our episode today. So, in today's episode, we're going to review the history of wine, and we're going to start with a map of the old world, and this is going to give us the background for the historical side and the geographical elements that we need to put together. And well, the first vines, vitis vinifera, that have been found in the world, they come from Georgia by the Caucasus. This is an area that has the conditions of soil, of humidity and rivers, and were perfect for the development of the vitis vinifera. And the archaeological discoveries date back to the year 6000 before Christ, the first fermentations of grapes from vitis vinifera. It's interesting, just to give you a background, that the first findings of fermentation of beer are from the year 12,000 before Christ. Now, through well, this is a picture of what is a vitis vinifera, not trained. It's a bush. This is a picture from the Caucasus. Now, the commercial routes allowed for the vitis vinifera to be transferred to Egypt, and in Egypt, by the year 5000, they already had discovered ways to train the vines in such a way that it was more efficient to have better production. In this picture here, we can see that they have mastered trellising the vines, and they had a more efficient way to work and also to harvest the grapes and make wine. From Egypt, we move through the commercial routes into Greece, and in Greece, by the year 4500 before Christ, they had already developed very interesting ways of storing the wine, which gave them more opportunities for commercial development. We can see in this picture here that there were plenty of different vessels to store wine, and allowing them to move them around and becoming wine a more commercial product. So from Greece, we move to Asia. We know that by the year 500 before Christ, there was already vitis vinifera planted in some areas of Asia. There's a certain big sections in China that have vitis vinifera, and they have been producing wines throughout many years. So this is for that section in Asia. Now, from Greece, the wines or the vitis vinifera moved to Italy. They were planted in Italy, and in Italy, by the year 200 before Christ, we know that they had developed a lot of techniques, and they started using barrels to store the wine and move wines in more volume throughout the different trading routes. We can see here a picture. This is a discovery a few years back, not many, from Pompeii, and this is basically a pub. This is a place where people would go and choose their wine, the kind of like holes that you see in the table. They were holes full of wine, and they had a scoop where they would take the wine and serve it in glasses. And there was also a picture somewhere there with the prices of each of the wines coming from each of these holes. So by the year 200 before Christ, in Italy, wine was the consumption of wine was really massive, and it was easy to have access to go to a place where you could drink wine and eat something together with wine. From Italy, the vines move further north, and this is where the grapes start to be planted specifically in certain areas. I put this yellow flag because in the northern part of Europe, where the climate is much cooler, like in Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, as you can see in the picture here, they started planting different type of varieties of vitis vinifera. And this is how from Italy, and as it spread out through the world, different vitis vinifera were planted in different sections in the world. We have France, then from France they moved to Spain, to Portugal, and from here we have the jump of the vines into the New World. So here we are in the New World, and the departure from Spain and Portugal into the New World. This is back in the year 1500 after Christ. This is when the Spanish and the Portuguese started moving around in the world and looking for places to conquer. And this is how the first vines arrived into Chile, Argentina. Then in another route, we had the vines going from Spain, Portugal, arriving in Mexico and in the west coast of the United States. So the arrival of this vitis vinifera into the New World was the grape variety called Mission, the Mission grape, or País in Spanish. And it's known because it's the type of grape used for by fermenting it to make wine for the celebration of Mass. And this is how the missioners, they spread out the vitis vinifera throughout the New World. Some of the elements that also are relevant during this period of time or later, but part of the historical development that we're reviewing today, is the discovery of oxidation by Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur was able to find that the contact of wine with oxygen will basically rotten the wines. So this was very important because it allowed, with this knowledge, to start storing wines in vessels and different types of barrels or whatever that didn't contain any oxygen, in order to keep the wines in a more healthy way. So this was really relevant for the development of quality of wines later. Another important date or happening was the fact that in the 1920s, the US government entered prohibition for the consumption of alcohol. I don't know if you guys have watched the movie The Untouchables, which is a fantastic movie that reflects and explains exactly what was happening during the 1920s when the prohibition was in place. Consumption had grown a lot throughout the colonies, and in the case of Chile also, there was a prohibition of planting, not exactly of consumption, but of planting. So no new plantings were allowed in Chile during this period of time. Also, some of the colonies that also brought vitis vinifera in the New World were Australia and South Africa, among others. So pretty much this covers the whole historical and geographical evolution of vitis vinifera since the 6000 before Christ until basically what it is, the establishment of vitis vinifera and the spread out throughout the world. So now let's go into our recap. All right, so let's do our concepts to remember or recap. So we have 6000 before Christ. This is when the vitis vinifera grapes were found in the Caucasus in Georgia. And from there, through the commercial routes, they spread out to Egypt, Greece, and Rome. From Rome, they moved to the northern section of Europe, and by then they were using specific vines for specific geographical areas depending on the conditions, weather, soils, etc. And after the spreading throughout Europe, and with the Spanish and Portuguese conquerors, the vines arrived in the New World. Initially Chile and Argentina in the southern part of America, and then in Mexico and the United States in the northern part of America. And then also they were taken into South Africa and Australia, which are very important wine growing countries in the world today. So this is pretty much our recap and our episode of today for history and geography of vines, of the vitis vinifera. Next week we're going to talk about grape varieties, some of the most important ones around the world. And please give me a like, Share the video with your friends. Subscribe to the channel so you can receive first-handed each video every week. And also comments. I will be happy to receive comments, and maybe we can get from your comments ideas for an episode or questions that you would like to be answered. So this is our week's episode, and see you next week. Cheers.